Honestly, this is a dream come true. The one, the only, ArnieTex. Like, thank you for coming to DFW. Thank you for spending time at Zavala's Barbecue. And thank you for spending a couple of minutes for us. Actually, not minutes. We're going to spend some time talking.
Right on.
Like, you know, BBQ Distro, I think we reached out to you 2 years ago.
About that time, yeah.
And you were really going strong. And I remember we got your stuff on. I forgot what thing went viral. I think we sold out of everything in one day. And we were like, what just happened? And I remember we were reaching out to you guys.
Yeah.
We're like, hey, we need 200 bottles. You're like, what? And y'all are just taping them all up
Right on.
and shooting them out.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it's interesting because, you know, I mean, I guess we just have such a big following now, and we don't really have a place up here in the DFW area. We've had a distributor try to get in a couple of stores, and it's kind of, they're like, I don't know, you know, whatever. I mean, and I see that in other barbecue stores that are barbecue stores. They just have like very few rubs, you know, and they're whatever the management and the employees like, right? It seems like. So we appreciate you guys having us in your store. And that's why I wasn't going to go anywhere else except with Joe Zavala, because you're my customer and I appreciate you guys. And I told Dan, I said, it's got to be with Joe, man.
that means the world.
Yeah.
Like, we absolutely love you. We reshare everything that you do, and we just can't keep your stuff stocked. It is just.
I'm glad to hear that.
It's just so amazing. Like, people love you.
Yeah.
But most people don't even realize how much work it takes to be ArnieTex.
You're very correct about that. It's a ton of work. We pretty much work 7 days a week, you know. You know, it's kind of like the cook-off scene. I'm not sure if you ever dabbled in that, but, you know, a lot of times, I mean, we won a lot of cook-offs all over Texas. And
So humble. How many did you win?
I did. I never really had an exact count. One time there was a guy that said he won 200, and I was like, he's so full of it, right? So I said, I won 100, right? But it really wasn't that many.
How many grand champions?
I'm going to say in grand, it's somewhere between 30 and 40, and then I had several reserves, you know, so somewhere between 50, 80. I don't think it's quite 100.
Was it the Texas scene?
In the combination.
Did the Texas scene, or did you go outside of Texas?
It was mostly all Texas, yeah. Yeah, we did go to Florida once. That's an amazing, crazy story, but we did.
What was crazy about it?
Well, dude, man, you know, I had just bought a new F-250, and I had built a little
King Ranch, was it? You know?
No, man, I was a lot more poor back then. Yeah, so I had just bought a new F-250, and, you know, we used to have a motor home, then we had a toy hauler, and then we went broke after the restaurant, right? So I built my own little barbecue trailer and was hauling it around with an old truck. And then we finally could afford an F-250, right? And so we bought that, and we got invited to Sunny's Smoking Showdown. It was basically very similar to the Jack, you know, the World Championship. It was only like so many people were invited that were champions of each state. And I think I was the only guy. There might have been 2 or 3 of us from Texas that got invited, and I was one of them. And so we're hauling butt down I-10, you know, get into Louisiana. And have you ever been on those roads in Louisiana? I mean, it is like going through speed bumps. Just like boom, 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 boom.
Did you just see water all on the side everywhere?
Yes,
You're like, where's all the water coming from?
Yeah, and so we're flying down the road, you know, about 75 miles an hour. And then it get dark on us, and some car pulled up next to me, started honking, and I'm like, what, dude? You know? And he's like, look back there, you know. He was pointing to the back, and it was dark. We're in the middle of nowhere, right? And I'm like, okay, well, let me pull over and see what he's obviously telling me something, right? So I pulled over, and I go around the back side and the other side of the trailer, and I'm missing a wheel completely. It's gone. You know?
You have no idea how long.
No, I didn't know, man. And what had happened, the axle had broke. I thought maybe I had a blowout, and it just, you know, but when I saw the wheel, the drum was like crooked like that, I was like, oh, shoot, man. And I looked under there, and we broke an axle. I was like, oh, man, we're in freaking Louisiana. We're not even halfway to Florida yet. So fortunately, there was that real big over bridge. You go like that, and right at the bottom there was a little exit. And so we got off there. There was a Tractor Supply. There was hotels and everything. Talk about being in the right place at the right time. So we just got a room. In the morning, I went to Tractor Supply and looked for axle or whatever. They didn't have the one that fit my trailer. So I went back to the hotel, got on the laptop, started looking for places, and it's kind of like a shipyard, kind of a town area or whatever. And so everybody was busy, you know. Every welding shop was like, nah, man, we can't take care of you. And finally, one guy said, yeah, man, we can fix you up. We got the axle, you know, it's kind of an old model and whatever, but we got it. We can get you fixed up, man. It took about a week. And I was like, no, dude, I got to leave today. He's like, no, man. And we went back and forth, and I go, how much is it? You know, and I already knew what the actual cost. They're like 150, 200 bucks. He goes, well, if you really want to be on the road tonight or tomorrow morning, I said, tonight. And he's like, it'll be 1,200 bucks. And I was like, oh, okay, man, fix me up, dude. So we hauled the trailer. He got it fixed up, did a great job, and we flew down the freeway to Florida. Another funny thing that happened on that trip, so we're going and going and going, and I'm looking at the clock, right, because I'm trying to time our trip. We're supposed to be there on Thursday, right? Now it's Friday morning.
When was turn-in?
Yeah.
What time was turn-in?
Well, there was steak on Friday night, so that's why I wanted to be there Thursday to kind of get oriented and all that stuff, right? And it was an SCA event on Friday night. And so we're going and going and going, and I'm looking at the clock on the radio, and I'm like, man, we never got there. Then all of a sudden, it was like it's 6 p.m., and it's 6 p.m., and it's 6 p.m. for 2 hours, right? And I'm looking at Terry like, did we just enter the Twilight Zone, or did we pass a time warp, or what's going on, right? Well, it's the time change, right?
Oh, yeah.
And we're like, finally it dawned. I'm like, oh, it's a time change, right? Because they're a different hour, right?
Yeah.
We lost an hour or gained an hour, whatever you call it. Anyway, we finally made it just in time to check in for steak, and because Florida's like Texas, man. Once you're in Florida, it's still like a long ways down. We're way on the bottom.
Oh, y'all went all the way down
over close to Miami. There's an air base close by there. I can't remember what the little place is called, but anyway, we had fun. Didn't get to sleep. Stayed up all night cooking. Literally was asleep on the side of the trailer like this, standing up, and we did okay. We had an 8th place chicken among the best of the best. And I think we came in. It was like 68 or 70 teams, something like that. We came in like 30th overall.
What year was this?
This was 2017.
So did you already have your rubs that you were selling then?
No, we did not. At that time, we didn't have rubs till COVID came in. That's when we started.
Whoa, so when y'all really blew up was just during COVID?
Yeah, it was after. Yeah,
after?
That's when it really all kind of started to snowball on us. I mean, we already had a big following on Facebook from the cook-off world, right? Because I would always post, where we were.
I remember watching them.
And tell people how we placed and whatever. And a lot of guys in the competition, they only place if they do good, right? And if I sucked that day, I still posted. I said, hey, man, we got our ass kicked, and I'm not embarrassed, I knew where we were. And
so I know you have 3 rubs. Were all these like from the competition world, or are some of them that you just loved at home all the time?
No, the Wow actually was a blend that I was making during competition that I would use in competition. And it was very close to that anyway. And basically I would take Fajita Fiesta, and because that was like the standard, kind of a secret for everybody, your base salt, pepper, garlic with a chingos of MSG, right?
Yeah.
And so I would blend some stuff into that and make my own little rub out of that. And so when we were fun fact, my wife got breast cancer in late 18, so we didn't cook for 19, we didn't cook in 18, right? Did I get the dates wrong again? Anyway, we took a whole year off, right?
I'll say this, with cancer, it all turns a blur.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't realize, and my wife told me this because I also had cancer in 2019, is it's not just us that are going through the cancer. You actually have the cancer too, because you're there every step of the way.
Correct.
And Terry's probably the sweetest person in the world, but I was at times I was mean to my wife, and I apologize to this day. Like,
no, she was pretty good. Yeah, she's pretty mellow. She's a very laid back, quiet person.
How long was that journey?
We went through that a whole year. We didn't cook. We just stayed home. Fortunately, we had launched our Pitmaster class online, and it took off really well, and we had already been doing in-person classes and had saved some money, and so we were able to take that whole year off.
Wow, that's incredible.
And we didn't really tell anybody. We just kind of kept it to ourselves, and it's cool. Some people like to let the world know, and that's okay too. But we're a pretty private family, and so we just kind of kept it to ourselves during that time, other than close friends and family and stuff, right? And so when it was all said and done, and whatever, 2020 rolls around, we were ready to go cook again. And we signed up for the San Antonio Rodeo, and we went and did that. And then, like, literally right after that, COVID kicked in. Yeah, because we were already geared up.
San Antonio Rodeo is usually February, beginning March, right? Or am I wrong on
late February.
Late February.
Yeah. And by then, I had another toy hauler, right? And so we were ready to go. We've been cooking anywhere from 30 to 45 events a year for like 7, 8 years, every year. And that year in 2020, we decided we're going to venture out of Texas and go kind of weigh ourselves against some of the KCBS teams. And so we had 10 events in Texas and just a couple outside of Texas we were going to do. And then literally right after the rodeo, or shortly after that, in April, I think it was, is when COVID kicked in, and it was everybody stays at home. And so we had this little ranch, we called it. It was 2.5 acres in Edinburgh. And so we're all like, man, we're out here, you know, I think the world's going to end, whatever. Who knows what's going on, right?
I know.
So we decided to put our property up for sale. We didn't think it was going to sell very quick or anything, but we said, well, let's go. And her mom was by herself, and she didn't get to see her mom a lot during those cooking years. You know, we miss weddings, we miss quinceañeras, we miss family get-togethers because you're on the road all the time on the weekends. And so we decided to put our place up for sale. We went and stayed with her mom, and you weren't supposed to do anything, right? So we would load up the truck where you couldn't see nothing, right? And we'd drive over there one day and come back the next day, and drive over there and come back the next day.
I think we all did that.
Yeah. And so anyway, long story short, we're sitting there at home, and it was also the year, I think, of the big freeze. And
It was 2020.
So we're
2020, 21, April 21. Yeah.
So we're sitting there, and my son you were in San Antonio, I think, Dan was, and so we're just kind of always talking on the phone and FaceTiming and whatever. And he's like, Dad, you always wanted to have your own rubs. Why don't you do it now that you have time? I was like, bingo, you're right. I have time now. So we started to mess around with that. And I took the ingredients that I had, and I had been selling my brisket rub already for years to other competition teams. I would sell a bunch of it, quite a bit. And I'd make it at home.
You were making it at home
yeah,
and selling
I'd make it in 5-pound batches in the big bread mixer thing. And I'd
That's a
sell
lot of
bunch
work. I don't think people realize.
They don't.
And then to be consistent on it.
To be considered, you got to weigh everything. And then I had big tubs and jars of seasoning.
And then that smell does not leave the house or the cars.
You're sneezing the whole time, wearing a mask, you know, whatever. But anyway, so that's kind of how our rub business started. We created WOW first. And I've told this story before, you know, I ordered a pallet of product. It was about $7,000. And, you know, it was fine. We could afford it, but I was like, it's still $7,000. You know, it's like a lot of money, man. It was a whole pallet. And I told Terry, I remember telling her, if we can just sell this within 90 days, I think we'll be successful, right? We sold out in 4 days, which was like, what? It was
That's
crazy,
amazing.
man. It was crazy. We started to do the more YouTube. We had kind of dabbled in YouTube a little bit. We had our online.
Because most of your stuff, if I remember right, you did a lot of Facebook Live stuff, or not Facebook Live, but Facebook stories. Like I remember watching. That's where I saw you.
Yeah.
Over and over again was on Facebook.
At that time, it was Facebook. Yes, it was our biggest platform, and that was where I posted most of my stuff. Back then, it was just pictures, right? And I come from the. I'm old school. I came from the forums where we would do reports. Like I used to ride dirt bikes, and we would do ride reports, and it was all pictures, right? There was no video or anything back then. So anyway, we launched the WOW. It sold out really quick. Of course, there were shortages of everything, so it took about 90 days to get reloaded. And I told Terry, we're going to really load up, and so we bought 6 pallets and just got our website going. Danny helped us with that, and so then it sold really, really well, continues to sell really well, and we've always cooked with a little salt, pepper, and garlic in the kitchen. We've loved it. And so I remember that being my grandpa's go-to, my dad's salt, pepper, and garlic. That was the original seasonal.
So do your grandpa from West Texas?
No, he lived in Edinburgh. He was a chef at an American restaurant in Edinburgh. I mean, they did all the American food.
So your dad left the valley to go to West Texas and came back?
My dad and my mom left and went to Arizona following some compadres to go work. They got a job up there, and they're like, hey, come up here, man. There's plenty of opportunity, right? So my dad worked in a bowling alley and sold encyclopedias, and his brother was a foreman at a big farm and ranching operation in West Texas, in Pecos. And he called my dad about a year later and said, hey, man, we need some help over here. You want to come back to Texas? And that's how we got back to Texas. So I was born in Arizona and in Phoenix.
You're a Texan.
and so I tell people, I was born in Arizona, but I crawled to Texas as quick as I could.
How old were you when you came back to Texas?
Yeah, I wasn't even a year yet.
You're not even a year?
Yeah, not even a year when my parents came back. So grew up pretty much there in West Texas and Pecos. And
do you think that's why your dad and just, because I feel like West Texas, everything is just grilled. Like,
yes. Much like the valley and all along, the South Texas borders, everything old school wise everything was grilled pretty much. There was no smoking meats or anything. Matter of fact, I want to say I was probably one of the first guys in the valley to actually own an offset smoker. I don't remember ever seeing one out there. And I started cooking and dabbling in buying and selling pits way back in late 90s, early 00s. And I think, as far as I remember, nobody had offset stick burners out
No,
there.
because I think everybody had like the HEB barrels.
There was a lot of those.
And so if they did a
And pipe
brisket
picks from the oil field.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then it would just be the brisket on the side.
Yes.
And
Correct.
throw
Which
charcoal.
works great,
Oh,
but you know, and I'll say this even today, I think stick burners are overrated for a backyard barbecue. They work, they're great, but you can do an offset fire
Let's talk about
on
that
a
a
big
little
pipe
more.
pit. When I had the restaurant, I'd cook 8, 10 briskets, and it was just on a 7-foot grill, right? But it was
How'd
an
you do
offset
that?
fire. I just built a big old offset fire. In the valley, we have the carbon mexicano, right?
Yeah.
The Mexican charcoal. I'd dump a whole bag in there, throw a couple of chunks of mesquite and some pecan, light it all up, let it kind of get lit, shut the lid, put all the briskets on the side, and just set the airflow. Once you know your pit and how it likes to run, you just
So back
freaking-
then, was it 20,
That was 2008
2008.
when we started there.
How long did you have your restaurant?
2 years,
2 years.
almost 2 years.
And it was a Tex-Mex barbecue or just barbecue?
It was I bought a turnkey restaurant. It belonged to Terry's brother-in-law, and he was retiring, getting out of the business. And so we approached him, and he agreed to sell it to us for a song and a dance. You know, it was a pretty good deal. And but you know, that was in April of '08, and in '09, the big crash happened, and so we still had a really great '08. We added barbecue a few months later because people knew my background and stuff.
Okay.
And
Were you trimming, like, so now we're judged on, like I tell people, like we have to be a 98 or 99 at a restaurant. If not, we suck.
Yeah.
And every photo that's taken has to be ready for Instagram. And if it looks bad, then we suck, right?
Yeah.
So we have the beautiful trim and all that stuff. Were you trimming your briskets back then, or was it just seasoned and it was just more chop?
I've always trimmed them, at least a light trim. You know, back then, even honestly, I had a competition background then, but that was different from what we do at a restaurant, right? So I mean, in a competition, you make it this big, and you cook
And then
the trim.
also y'all cooked y'all's briskets upside down with the fat on the bottom on the
In
competition.
competition, yes. Yeah, you got to have that sauce on top, right? And you had to cook it till it was melt in your mouth. And one of the guys that taught me, you know, when I first started, Jeff Shivers, God rest his soul, he was a really good friend and a big mentor. He was one of the founders of IBCA, and we were at a cook-off in Grand Prairie, as a matter of fact, here at the
Trader
Village. Yeah.
No,
and,
are you
yeah, and he
serious?
came and he told me, he goes, Arnie, you got to be able to cut that brisket with a plastic fork. He goes, and a plastic knife. He goes, keep that in mind. And so, man, I overcooked the crap out of that brisket that time, and we got like a 3rd place, you know.
Wow.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
The
Thank you,
Trader
Jeff.
Village used to be a big old
It was a big
barbecue
event,
competition.
yes. Back in those days, it was huge, yes. So that was that, you know. But that was a whole different era. The restaurant, we did good in '08. In '09, you know, we really felt that so-called trickle-down thing, and we wound up selling it in July of '09, and came out okay on the buy-sell part, but we still lost a bunch of money, you know, over the 2-year period. And so I didn't want to go back in the car business. My background was the car business and made really good money, but 80-hour weeks, 75, 80-hour weeks, you know, you really don't have a family life or much of a life anyway, but it's a great business. But I just decided I didn't want to do that anymore. So I went to work part-time at a auction house, and I was their outside sales rep. That allowed me to go to the cook-offs and kind of dabble in that again. And it was the heyday, it was just starting, of the oil fields were exploding, you know, and they were giving money like left and right. They were sponsors.
Everybody had the P cards or like.
Yes, they were giving tons of sponsor money at every cook-off. So, you know, I remember in Pleasanton, I think one year the total prize money was somewhere over 50 or 70 grand, something like ridiculous. It started out at like 50, right? Then during the actual award, they were like, we're going to give more. And this other oil company, we're going to give more. It was crazy, man. I remember one year there, I got a 3rd place brisket at that one too. And I went home with like a $2,500 check or something like that. And I was like, damn, that's a lot of money for a brisket, right? So anyway, yeah, that was the heyday of the cook-offs. And that was the era when I decided to quit my job and just go cook full time, because there was big prize money and we were doing well, and I thought I could make a living at it. But nobody told me that you don't always win. So there were some feast and famine weekends too, you know. Some weekends were great, you made a bunch of money. Some you didn't make much or any, you know. It's hit or miss, you know.
That's incredible. Like, I think I always tell people, like, you really have to fail to be able to grow.
Yes.
But sometimes failing isn't really even failing. You have to go try.
Yes. Yeah, I totally
Because
agree.
like you figure out what you like, what you don't like,
Right.
what you're good at, what you're not good at.
Right on.
And that's so cool that you were like, you know what, I'm gonna go. Like, oh, actually, I want to know what, because I guess you were winning so many times. You're like, oh yeah, I could do this. And then
Yeah.
then you went out. You're like, you didn't win for a week or a month, and you're like, oh, actually.
Yeah, it wasn't a month. We'd have a week maybe where we didn't do very well or whatever. I remember the Flip Flop Festival. I don't know if you remember. It's down here on the coast, a little south of Galveston. What's that little place called? I can't remember. But I remember I had a gig because we were catering to that to Offset. And,
Okay.
And so McCoy's came to me and they said,
Yeah.
hey man, we love your stuff. We see your pictures. We know you're a great cook. You had a restaurant, whatever. We want you to cater for White Wing season. We got a bunch of guys coming from all our stores, all the management and whatever. And I remember the Flip Flop Festival had a $10,000 prize purse, right? And so I was like, nah, I think I can make a decent paycheck. I probably won't make as much because I did the numbers, crunched numbers, and I was like, this catering gig is going to make me about $5,000, right? And I just remember looking at it and looking like, man, at that time, I was in cook-off mode. That was my passion. That was what I loved to do, right? And I don't remember, we might have been chasing points or something. I really don't remember, but I remember calling a friend and I said, hey, his name was Tom. I said, hey, Tom. He also did catering. And I said, hey, dude, I got this gig with McCoy's. These are the numbers. This is what you're going to make. But it's an all-weekend deal. It's in Brownsville, between Brownsville and Harlan. And you're going to have to go there and spend all weekend over there. He goes, I'll take it, man. And I think even up till recently, he's still doing that gig, man.
Oh, with them?
But I came home that weekend with $100 bill, man. I was like, oh, I should have took the gig, man.
Yeah, because that gig's probably like 25, 30,000
Yeah,
now.
man. Yeah, well, it's probably a lot bigger for sure, man. But
That's
yeah,
incredible.
Those are fun but crazy times. Sometimes I'd be on the road and thinking, like, what the heck am I doing? You know, I should get a job, right? But
No,
it was so fun, man. And honestly, it just, you kind of, when you follow your passion, your dream, I tell people now, because of where we're at, right? Stick to what you love, you know, like that ancient Chinese saying that says, you know, do what you love and the money will follow, right? Something along that. And so I just enjoyed it, and I had the confidence that we would do well enough to survive. Fortunately, we didn't have any debt at the time other than my truck payment still. That was the only payment I had, and our you know, at the time we were living with my mom. My wife and I bought the ranch from her, so we were paying her. Those were the only two payments we had other than, you know, basic bills, electricity and stuff. So we were able to do that even in the rougher times, you know, to get by, because there would be some weekends, like I said, we'd come home with a bunch of money, and there'd be some weekends we didn't. So I'd run up the credit cards a little bit, and then I'd make money and I'd pay them off, right? But I was chasing the dream, I was chasing the passion. When we got into 2016, we had won so many events, and of course in the cook-off world, everybody wants to know what you're doing. And so we had so many people asking for classes. I went to a couple myself. Not that I needed them, because I was actually outperforming the guys that giving the classes, but I wanted to see what they knew, because you never stop learning, right?
100%.
And so I paid for those classes, and I do remember being disappointed and thinking like, there's no way these guys are telling us what they're doing, right? So I decided I'd do my own class, and I actually gave printed recipes with exact measurements and everything that I was doing. And so we did that for about a year and a half, almost 2 years, and got to stock a little bit of cash set aside because it was pretty lucrative. Drove all over Texas. We went to Lubbock so many times. I started to call I-10 ArnieTex Highway. Yeah, so it was fun, man. It was a really fun time. About that time, Danny's graduating from college. His background is photo video, and I think he had some kind of project or something. I don't remember. Danny's always correcting me because I forget my dates and stuff. But anyway, more or less around that time, we decided to do, with Danny's, again, suggestiveness, to create the online pitmaster class. And so we did that, you know. It took us about a year.
What year was that?
That was 2017 then, or 16? 17.
So y'all were ahead of y'all's time.
Way ahead of the time. Totally agree. Because video still was not a thing, right? And there was a few guys that had started online classes, and they didn't last very long.
Yep.
Because they didn't have what we call the marketing machine. Danny's the brain behind it. He has that background. He has that skill to figure stuff out like that, and he watches all the analytics, and he learns all that stuff. And his background was photo video.
But it's also, like, it is a lot of that,
Yeah.
but it's also you. I stop, and I'm like, I got to watch this.
Yeah.
Like, it's just exciting. Like,
Thank you.
You make it seem, number one, easy, but you make it seem like you're our Theo, our friend, like we're just hanging out with you.
Yeah.
Like, we're like, man, you make us feel good.
Thank you.
While you're
Appreciate
cooking.
that. Well, I just kind of myself, being myself, right? I guess we all have our unique personalities.
So
and
no one ever
characters.
gets you mad?
Um,
No one ever gets you mad?
Oh yeah, that
Yeah?
happens sometimes.
Yeah?
Thank you to the magic of editing. That
Okay.
that gets taken out. Not necessarily mad like when we're recording, but sometimes we make mistakes and we have bloopers and stuff like that.
We're going to get those bloopers out.
Yeah, I think Danny's stocking them somewhere, banking them up. We recently recorded a chicharrón video. I was so mad over and over and over because I couldn't get it to be perfect, right? And I was just mad, I was mad at the pit. I was mad at the chicharrón. I was mad at myself, right? But not at anybody, right? Just like, man, why isn't this thing working like it's supposed to, right? It's in my cookbook. It has to come out perfect, right? And so it's just kind of a little weird thing that happened, right? But yeah, man. So we're just kind of doing what we love. All that work and drive that we had in the past and all the passion that went into that. Fast forward again to when COVID kicked in and we started to sell WOW. And then the OG, I got the name because I was saying my grandpa and my dad used to use salt, pepper, garlic. So that's why I call it the OG. It was the original all-purpose seasoning. And then I got tired of mixing the brisket rub at home, right? And I said, why am I doing this when I can have it packed, right? And so it took about 6-8 months to get that one to be just right the way I wanted it. So because they have to put in some of the stuff, right? And they finally got it where I liked it, and we packed that. And now we have coming out very soon for everybody out there. We have a rice seasoning. Our rice video was our first million-view video, and people just love it. So we decided to package the seasonings.
You're lying.
And then we have a bean spice coming out too.
No.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to use that.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to use it at the restaurant.
I've sent the bean spice out to some friends, and they're like, mix me some up. It's so good. And I was like, wait till it comes out.
Like I watch a video, like I just struggle with rice. Like I just don't know how our grandmas, like at the quinceañeras and the weddings, like how do they make the big old batches? Like I don't understand it.
I think it's like we say in Spanish, right? It's la mano, it's the hand, it's from repetition and doing it so much. They did it all their life. Yeah. You got to remember that. So they already have that little feel for it, like you do for barbecue. You can open the pit, look at a brisket, touch it, where you're at, right? I think it's that way with our moms and our grandmas, when it comes to rice and other kitchen cooking dishes. So basically that rice was my grandmother's rice originally. She taught my mom. She also taught my wife how to make that rice. So my wife and my mom's is very, very close. They're a little bit different, but
I don't think people realize it, like at Tejanos and Chicanos, like how much that rice means. Like it's just like it's like happiness when you're eating it.
Yes.
Like you could be having the worst day ever or the best day ever, and all you do is take a bite of rice. You're like, oh, this just brings back so many memories of childhood and everything.
Yeah, and then if you have a fresh pot of beans to go with it, you're good, man.
So
that's a meal.
Here's a question for you. Like for me, my mom makes me enchiladas for my birthday to this day.
Really?
Every year. That's like
Wolf
my favorite
brand
thing.
or?
No. Red chili, ground beef, and cheddar cheese on top.
There you go.
But not the expensive cheddar cheese. It has to be the one that melts.
Yeah, it has to be that one. Yeah.
And then rice and beans. And then my mom, she just loves to make the hottest hot sauce ever. And you're just like in the moment at that, and you're like, God, why can't I make this sauce? Like, it's just so hard to find the right serranos and jalapenos to give you the spice. What is it? What's your happiness meal that you just like? It's every time you eat it, it's just like, this is what I love. This is what I need right now.
I don't know that I have any one, right? But generally, Sunday mornings used to, not as much anymore, but it was barbacoa and menudo. And in our restaurant, we had a special dish on our menu. We called it the special barbacoa especial, right? And it was the mixture of the tongue, la lengua, and the cachete, which is the cheek meat. And then we'd have a menudo, 2 over easies, some little potatoes, cubed up potatoes, and bacon on the side. So it was a big old hearty plate, and we sold a lot of that.
I was going to say, I want that right now.
Yeah, people love that one, man. And so I look for that when I go to Tex-Mex restaurants or Mexican restaurants, and very few places have it the way we did. So that's kind of one of them. But the other one is just really being by the grill. And it doesn't matter if it's chicken halves. I love chicken halves because you got the best of both worlds there. And it's an art, as you know, to get both of them perfect at the same time. But we cook a lot of chicken. Chicken thighs is a big thing, but it's hard to beat a good ribeye in New York or a fajita if you get an outside skirt or a tenderized or a marinated fajita. So I'm happiest there, just on the grill, of whatever protein it is, you know.
Is it always mesquite or mesquite charcoal?
No, actually, no. I like to cook with Kingsford a lot, and I also will, depending on what I'm cooking, I also do the Mexican charcoal, carbon mexicano, and I'll throw in some mesquite, or I might throw in a little pecan if it's chicken. I like pecan and hickory a lot, but I always have to blend some mesquite in there too. It's got to have a little bit of that South Texas twang in there. Yeah.
I know. Actually, maybe you could tell me this. Like my brother-in-law, I don't know what he did, but I swear people tell me I'm crazy. But one time he made fajitas and he just threw like twang on there, and that was it. It was just like this lime and salt, and it was just like the most incredible flavor ever for a fajita.
And that's just something, you know, certain things go well together, right? And fajitas with lime juice, lemon juice, or Worcester, which is also a little tart. It just goes, man. It goes well. Maybe it's because we grew up eating stuff like that, you know, and you got to have those little taquitos mexicanos with a squeeze of lime, right? And people maybe don't understand so much why it's done that way, but, you know, you got so much fat in your taco, you squeeze that lime, the acid kind of balances things out, and I believe it aids the digestion as well, you know, from what research I've done a little bit here and there.
Because I tell everybody, like growing up, all it was flour tortilla, whatever on the grill, salsa and pico de gallo. And then if we're lucky, a good avocado slice is just on top.
Yep. Yeah, you're right, man. That's pretty much what our family get-togethers, what we call our carne asada. It wasn't brisket, ribs, and chicken. It was chicken, usually chicken halves, and fajitas, loaded ribs, what we call loaded ribs now, or short ribs, and sausage. You know, and I call it more or less the trifecta, right?
And did y'all do it like this too? I remember my dad buy the Eckerd sausage and just throw the
Eckerd
bag,
sausage.
just throw the bag in there to warm up, and then you cut it up and that's what you eat. And
I never liked throwing the bag in there, man. I don't know. I did it many times just to try it, right? Which comes out juicy, right? But I always liked to put that grill flavor. I like that little toasty skin on there. Yeah, but that was it, man. It was usually fajitas, chicken, sausage, Eckerd, and I get so much hate when I mention Eckerd online, man. People just,
it's what we grew up.
But that's what we grew up with, yeah. And Terry, to this day, I gotta have Eckerd for her, even though now I like other ones, right? But if I don't have Eckerd, she won't eat sausage, right? So yeah.
I do remember our mom like splitting down the middle. We get a white bread, sometimes a little bit of mustard, and you just eat all of it like that.
Yeah, and then the pico de gallo too, you know, and flour tortillas. That's what we grew up on, and I love corn more now, actually. You know, now that we're getting better corn and tortillas and stuff than we used to grow up with. But, you know, we grew up with flour, but man, I love corn for tortillas now more.
I would say Annalise down in the valley, she changed my life with those corn tortillas that she makes.
They're amazing.
I was like,
amazing.
I was like, is this real? Is this what a tortilla is supposed to taste like?
Yeah. See, and the first time I saw that being done was at El Pocito. Danny talked me into going to El Pocito. We did a video there one day. And they have the molino right there. They're just like grinding the corn right there and turning it into what's it called, Dan? Nixtamal.
Yep.
And they're making the fresh gorditas right there. They also have flour tortillas, but they're making gorditas. They're the best tortillas I've ever had in my life. There's a lot of good gordita makers, but those are the best.
I definitely think like with the corn, like it has to be that.
Yes. Yeah.
Like that is just a different level of corn tortilla.
Yeah.
Everything else you're just like not excited for.
Yeah.
And I think it's also like for me, I like the fluffier tortillas, the little bit thicker ones.
Yeah.
I get the Sonora that everybody likes it thin, but there's just something, I don't know if it's South Texas, it's just like, and then you get the flour in your hands when you're like making your taco.
It's almost South Texas, I'm going to say. Because in Deep South, where we're from, we like them thin.
Okay,
you call that Sonora style? I don't know. I call it Monterrey style. We get them a little thinner. And then we come up to San Antonio and Austin, and they're thicker and fluffier, right? So we always tell them, can you toast them a little bit more?
Well, now I know.
Yeah. So it's just a preference, right? It's what I call the familiar flavor. That's what I teach in my classes. Like, you know, when you go to a town or to cook somewhere, look for that familiar flavor. What do people like in that area, in that region, you know? Because we all have our preferences, right? And so you want to give the judges a little bit of that taste of home. You want them, when they bite that chicken, to be like, oh, it tastes like my grandpa's. And that's where Kingsford really shined for me. Kingsford always had that familiar flavor because not everybody grew up on the rancho the way I did. A lot of people grew up in town. They didn't have 20 mezquitas there in the backyard to be chopping, you know, and burning down wood and stuff. So I used Kingsford on my chicken always, and would throw a little bit of mesquite chunks in there. And South Texas, when we'd come up here, DFW, Houston, Austin, we'd throw a little pecan, maybe a little hickory, right? But in the valley, it was always mesquite, always. But it was always the familiar flavor, I call it. You know, you want to give them that. So if you're in the valley, you want to throw mesquite on your brisket. You know, if you're up here, you may want to put a little pecan, and a little bit of hickory, because that's kind of
That's that competition.
little,
You think about the judges, huh?
Yes, absolutely.
Interesting. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So anyway, fast forward, we're making rubs, and we ramped up YouTube videos to promote our spices. And as you know, I mean, you can only cook brisket so many ways. You can get, you know, so deep in it and cook amazing brisket, but I wanted our channel to be a little bit bigger than that. And so one day we just made the restaurant style fajitas, and people liked it a lot. It went well. And so we decided to do some charro beans, you know, what we know as charro beans. And, you know, I've seen 100 YouTube videos with charro beans. Everybody uses weenies, you know, and that's the way they're served in the valley. But I got so much hate over that, you know, like the beans and chili. Some people fight over that, and I'm like,
are you
I've never had charro beans without weenies, you know.
100% of that, but how about on chili? No beans?
I like it. I make it without beans, but I add the beans afterwards sometimes if I'm
Okay.
in the mood for beans.
Okay.
But I do cook it without the beans. Yes, Texas. Real Texas. And so anyway, we were making charro beans and recording that, and I went and got Mom. She lives with us, and I said, hey, Mom, make us some rice, because we love to eat rice with beans. When we're done with the beans, we'll sit down, turn off the camera, we'll eat some rice and beans. And so, I don't know, it just kind of like was an impulse. I'm like, you know what, I'm going to record my mom making rice, right? So with one camera, I just kind of like went to the
So you recorded it all?
I did, just handheld. And I just stood there and I said, Mom, what are you doing? And what are you adding? And whatever. And she's talking. This is the first time she had ever been on the camera too. And so she made the rice. We recorded it. And Dan was like, Dad, you're a barbecue guy, man. You know, what are you doing making rice? We don't want to load that. And people don't want to see rice. And I was like, let's just try it, right? Let's just do it. And so I convinced him. And lo and behold, man, that rice video blew up. That was our first million view video. And so the fajitas, restaurant style fajitas, and the rice and the charro beans kind of was our hint that people wanted to see more than barbecue, at least for me, right? And so we started dabbling more into breakfast dishes a little bit, and just some of our cultural food that we grew up with. You know, I can cook fajitas a lot of different ways, more than brisket, right? Particularly when it comes to marinade. And I've always been a salsa freak, right? And so I started to make a couple of salsa videos, and they took off.
That's what I love about your book.
Yeah.
Like, I'm excited. I want to go through every salsa and make it.
Yeah, people love the salsa videos, so I just kept pumping them out, right? And honestly, like a lot of them I had never made, you know, but I did research and started to test different salsas, and I really have always liked a fire roasted salsa over the coals. I've done that pretty much all my life, and it's good, man. And
how long did it take you to write your book?
14 months, you know. I used to say 13, but it was actually 14 altogether. It was hard, really hard.
I was gonna say, like, for me, I struggle to be creative. Like, how did you keep yourself to be creative and say, this is what we're gonna do, and come up with recipes? I know you said you did some research, but like, you still at the end of the day have to do it and feel comfortable with it.
Yeah, and it's not that it's hard to do, because it's easy to research. There's so much information out there now. But you have to test the recipes, and you have to make them your own, and you tweak it to your particular flavor preferences. But it wasn't that the book was so hard in and of itself. It was that because we have a lot of brand deals also that you know, fortunately, we're very fortunate to have those. We had several brands that wanted to partner up with us. So we were doing a lot of reels for brands, 2 YouTube videos a week, plus, you know, a little bit of photo video, plus just trying to live our life, you know, and go to eat once in a while, or even just watch a movie. I mean, we'd go weeks, a month without getting to watch a movie. You know, we're working 7 days a week, you know, and then Dan would fly down or drive down. We'd drive to Austin and try to get it done. And we actually cooked a couple of the recipes at Dan's house in Austin and perfected them there. And then we did some at our house. And that was the hard part of that, just that we were so busy at the time. Not that the book itself by itself was hard. It was, number one, that we were super busy, and the time was the big factor. And the other one was, you know, I cooked like my mom and my grandma. I'd throw a little bit of this, a little bit of that, taste. Oh, it needs more of this. Oh, it's too salty, let me add more, you know, and make it a bigger dish and adjust. But for the book, we had to have exact measurements. And that was kind of one of the hard parts, because the publisher would be like, well, I'm like, okay, most skirt steaks are about 2.5 to 3 pounds. We're going to just give it a nice light shake of salt, pepper, garlic. I actually created a beef rub specifically for that in the book. And I said, we're just going to give it a nice shake. Well, how much is it? And I'm like, I don't know, man. Well, how much does the meat weigh? I go, well, I'm telling you, they're 2.5 to 3 pounds. I mean, every cow's a little bit different. No, but how much is it? How much does it weigh? You need to weigh it. And I'm like, I'm telling you, there's no, okay, I'm going to give in a little bit. So we're going to weigh 3 pounds, right? Or 2.5 pounds. And well, how many grams of salt is in there? And I'm like, man, dude, it's just a shake, dude. And so we kind of went back and forth on that, and we all kind of settled in. And there's certain wording, you know, that is part of my lingo, part of my culture that I like to use. I mean, that's how I talk, right? It's half English, half Spanglish, half Spanish, right? So it's kind of a little bit of everything. That's just how we grew up, right? And so they wouldn't let us use certain words, which, you know, again, we kind of compromised a little. They compromised a little. In the end, it was a win-win. We were, I don't know, 3 or 4 months late from our deadline date because we were just so busy more than anything, you know.
Are you? Do you find yourself starting to be more selective on things that you're doing?
Say again?
Are you being a little more selective on things that you're saying yes to?
Yes, we have gotten to that point where we're a little more selective. We have, I mean, we do have a lot of people that want to partner with us, and we're being more selective now. We have a few good partners that we're very happy to be partners with, and we've kind of want to stay with them for now. And if the right deal comes along, you know, we will. You know, it has to be a win-win. We look at that now as a win-win. You know, if we're going to partner with somebody, I mean, we look at, you know, we're going to do a lot for you. Is it going to work for us too? You know, because you're also a brand or whatever, right? Or, you know, how hard is it in between whatever we're doing? We have to kind of factor that in as well. But overall, I mean, the book, we got it done. And the publisher, because I was frustrated, and the publisher kept telling me, you know, our rep would be like, Arnie, just wait. When you get that book in your hand, you're going to be glad you did it, right? At one point, I was like, Danny, I don't want to do this. But thankfully, my family, you know, Dan, my son, and my wife, Terry, and even Sophie would kind of like sometimes, keep going, Dad, you know. And
You know,
so we kept going.
I think people don't realize how much family means
Yeah.
to being able to do this stuff.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of sacrifices your family makes
There is.
that people have no idea. Like,
It's true.
You know, we thank you so much for inviting us out to dinner last night. But like my son, he's a restaurant baby, right? And he just knows, he just sits, relaxed, says hi, and is like on his little space. And I feel bad, but we take him everywhere.
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
But it's also cool when we're at a barbecue festival. He's just like walking around saying hi to everybody.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
So like
Yeah.
I feel bad because it's his childhood, but also it's like the sacrifices that we're making to still be together.
Right on. And it's okay, you know, I think, because they get used to it, right? I mean, and that is their world. You know, we see in the movies, you see actors that grew up in the movie industry, and now they're actors, right? So it's kind of the same.
I tell them to run away. I say, I don't want you in the barbecue industry.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's have y'all been are actually a goal should be, are y'all looking to do a vacation together sometime soon, or were y'all done in the past?
We
Maybe
have
a
definitely
celebration?
been talking about that.
Y'all should.
Yes, a seriously real vacation. If we can ever get caught up on videos.
You're never going to be caught up. You just need to just schedule it and just do it. Everybody else can wait.
Well, yeah, we can schedule, but we got to have them in the funnel already done.
No,
and
what I'm saying is, like, if you skip a month, no one's going to be mad at you. Just say, hey guys, we're taking a vacation, and then come back stronger than ever.
Yeah, we definitely want to plan something like that, and we keep talking
You earn
about
it. Like, you've been busting your butt since 2008.
About 2013.
No, we're going to say
well,
2008.
actually, it does go back further.
Yeah, you've been busting that. And then I cannot believe you just went all in and did barbecue competitions. Like, that is insane.
Yeah, that was wild.
And
it was fun, though.
Oh, yeah. Like, I would like, that's
and the cool thing, one of the good things, we're talking about family, right? The barbecue world became like a second family to us. I mean, we all look forward to getting together on Friday night, talking about, you know, what we're going to do, what we brought. And you know, we do share some information between us, sometimes not the super secrety stuff, but we all help each other out, you know. And if my buddies would win, I'd clap for them. If I won, they'd clap for me, you know. So you become this big family, you know, and sometimes, you know, you stay Saturday night and you hang out with them and celebrate with them, or they celebrate with you, and then you go home on Sunday. You know, Friday night, it's a little bit of drink. Mostly everybody goes to bed at a reasonable hour. The serious cooks, right? And they take it serious, and you know, and then you cook all day Saturday, and it becomes your family, man. So I'm sure it's the same in the restaurant business. You know, you all get to know each other, and kind of you're in the same business. So again, I think the kids grow up in that. They get to know all your friends and their kids and stuff like that. So it's kind of like an extended family.
I know, that's just like, and then it's really cool that you have your whole family a part of this journey.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately that's what makes it worth it, because it can be really lonely doing it by yourself. And,
It can be, yeah. Yeah, we don't really socialize very much. We have a couple of friends here and there that once in a while we get to sneak away or we'll invite them over, right? But this last year, mainly because of the book, it was just us, like 7 days a week, and God bless my wife, man. She likes a clean house and a clean kitchen, and so, man, I'm so grateful and thankful for that, because I can make a lot of mess and she'll clean it up, and not really complain. So sometimes I try hard not to overdo it to give her a break too. But yeah, so she definitely picks up that part of the gig. And Dan, honestly, my son Dan, he's our COO and creative director and general manager and just overall cheerleader and whatever, right? I mean, he's been the brain behind a lot of our, what we call our marketing machine, you have to really know what you're doing when you're posting on YouTube. There's so much, there's an art to getting the video just right, like our introductions, our thumbnails, we try to get them a certain way, in a certain shot, a certain color. And I'll like certain ones, and Dan like, nah, this one works better, right? And and sometimes we go back and forth and disagree on certain things, but he's kind of led us on this journey for the most part, spearheads everything, and he's done a great job, so we're real grateful for that. But sometimes I'm smart too, right? Because I wanted to do the 3 stages of beans, right? He's like, no, Dad, you already have a charro bean video, and you have a regular, everyday bean. And I was like, no, dude, and so he wouldn't let me record it. So one Sunday, Terry and I were like, we're just gonna record it and send it up to him, upload it. And so we uploaded it. I said, okay, dude.
Oh, you just uploaded? You didn't even?
No, we didn't. We uploaded it for him to edit, to get it edited. And so he's like, what's this? And I said, just edit it and post it, man. And we posted it. That became another 1 million view video, man. And it just like took off, right? And people love that one. And the reason I did it was because people were asking me, how do you do your refried beans? What do you put in them? How do you do it, right? And so enough people ask, you're like, okay, there's something there, right? So we did it, and so it worked, And so I have other ideas that still have not come to fruition because, he ties my hands a little bit sometimes. But he does a great job.
And the good thing is you're still the CEO and boss. So you know what? We're going to do it.
That was the beans for sure. and the rice. But, he's got such a good creative brain. And Terry actually comes up with some good ones too sometimes, believe it or not. While we're actually recording, she'll be like, say this and say that. Things that I don't think of because I'm so focused on what I'm doing, right? And so my brain's on this, not on, somebody that's on the outside looking in has a little different,
100%.
And you know how they say, like, if you get several minds together, the collective mind, becomes a genius, right? And that's kind of what we have really between us, I think, between all of us in our family, when we go back and forth and talk about stuff. We do Google Meets 2 or 3 times a week, and we go over analytics, and we go over this and that.
This is a little enterprise.
Yeah.
It is a full-time enterprise.
Yeah, and we have some really exciting things coming up that I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about yet. But
well, I was going to say what the future is, but I'm going to ask this question, and then we'll get close to wrapping up. Outside of barbecue and Tex-Mex food, what is like the thing that you love? I know you call yourself a foodie. Like,
I do love to go out and eat and try different food and check out different cultural food, not just Mexican and not just barbecue. Fortunately now, I mean, everybody can go eat at a barbecue restaurant, and almost everybody's barbecue is excellent, right? Yep. In the old days, when we were in the cook-off world, I would still pull over in a barbecue after I just spent a whole weekend cooking, and Terry'd be, you're such a glutton for punishment.
100%. It was a roll of the dice back in the day.
But nowadays, almost everybody has excellent barbecue. So
I tell people right now, barbecue's too perfect.
Yeah, it is. It's great. And the sides, too, now.
Yep.
But as far as me, I mean, I grew up with a little bit of a drag racing background. I still love to watch drag racing, but even more because I rode motorcycles most of my life, off and on, both dirt bikes and street bikes. And so I still follow motocross. I love to watch a little bit of the motorcycle racing, formula style, whatever they call that. The Isle of Man, have you ever seen that, dude? Oh my God, that's like the most dangerous race in the world. They get up 200 miles an hour on this island. They close the whole island streets, and it's crazy, man. I love to watch stuff like that.
And it's a dirt track?
Yeah, no, it's all street.
Oh,
yeah,
street.
It's all street. Yeah, it's a street racing, and so I like to watch all that. So I want to go one of these days when Formula One comes to Austin. I want to go take my cameras and just hang out, that's kind of what I like to do. But mostly because we're a pretty tight family, they'll always, whatever they want to do, I'm game, because this has all been my dream for the most part, and they've supported me and done everything with me, and so I'm always like, what do y'all want to do? I'm down, whatever it is, and so we are talking about a vacation. We don't know where yet.
I'm going to bug you every month. Did you plan the vacation? Because y'all need to do it.
Good thing you don't have my phone number yet.
That is true. That is true. I'll just.
Dan, you have Dan's though.
I do have Dan's, and also I'll just hit you up on or make stories on Instagram. Did you do a vacation yet?
Yeah, we're definitely planning something. If not late this year, it'll be next year for sure. And it's not going to be. It'll probably be a 2-week at least.
That's fine. You deserve it. Y'all deserve it. You need
Yeah.
to make it yearly after this too.
Yeah.
Because
if I can get book 2 done by then, it'll be even better.
Oh, you're working on book 2?
They hate for me to say that, but this is one of the things. Really, honestly, this is exciting for me to say this here. I know we're running out of time, but I trademarked "Made for Fire." It's a registered trademark now, wording, and because I've always been a barbecue fire guy outside, whatever, right? And so I want to do another book with more fire cooking. I was kind of throttled on this for the same reason that we create certain types of videos.
Yeah.
Because we wanted the book to sell, so we wanted to have salsas, we wanted to have our cultural food, our Tex-Mex food, and some barbecue in there. A little bit of everything that we do on YouTube and what we're known for. But my next book, actually we had 164-ish recipes, and the publisher goes, no, you can't have that many in the book. You got to get down to 90, right? And then we pushed, and we came up, he let us get all the way up to 104. And what brought us up to that was the salsas, right? Because I wanted to have a lot of salsas. People love that. So I do feel like there's at least a book 2 in me.
Let's do it.
With more fire.
I love it.
Outdoor cooking, and not just grilling meats. I'm talking Dutch oven, because I used to do that also.
I know my dad. I have a picture of my dad making beans in a Dutch oven, just starting a little fire and just throwing it on top.
Yes, yeah. I mean that. I love
do
to,
it. I want to read the
To
book.
do that, the thing is, in the valley, it's so damn hot. It's hard to do that weekend to weekend. Only certain times of the year, it's like great, but. We used to have a cook-off in the valley. It was called the Lin San Manuel cook-off. And they'd have 90, 110 teams out there. People would come from Monterrey, from all over Texas to cook. And it was all ground fire cooking, a lot of it, and, cooking on those old pipe pits and just basic South Texas backyard style barbecue back then. And so we used to love to do that event. And that was kind of when I first saw, I grew up around it. My dad used to cook cabritos and on the fire and stuff, but somehow, I was 10, 11 years old. I don't remember it that much. I remember some. But when we were there in San Manuel at those events, and the guys from Monterrey would come and they'd build these little brick things, and they'd have a ground fire, and they'd have the cabrito up there, and some would have a little pig and whatever. I fell in love with it then, And I was already smoking meats and already getting into the Texas competition barbecue, so I've always loved that style of cooking. And so we started making pan de campo too in Dutch ovens, and on YouTube, I have my asado de puerco outside over the fire with my mom's old Dutch oven, used to my grandma's, I think. And so I love cooking that way. It's a different challenge, right? It's not just set it and forget it, and I love my pellet grills, especially in summer. Shout out to pellet grills, okay? They are a great tool to have in your arsenal. When it's super hot or it's super cold, you can go back inside, man. Just push that button and take it easy.
I totally agree. It is. It gets too hot. It gets too cold in Texas for sure.
And I love my stick burners. I got 3 of them, and I love all my grills. I think I got 20-some grills and smokers right now. But I used to have 50 or more, and we were out the ranch. And because I kind of always dreamed of having this, and I'm going to try to continue to do this. I'm looking for a property. But I always wanted to have a barbecue museum of pits. Old grills, old cookers, and I seen stuff on the road, on the side of the road, or at the flea market, whatever, and I'd buy stuff and have stuff.
I would come visit.
And eventually I was like, okay, this doesn't look like it's gonna happen anytime soon. We're moving to a smaller house, we're moving to a smaller property. I wound up giving some away and selling some and stuff, but I still kind of got that little thing in the back of my head.
You shouldn't have sold them. You could have, actually, did you autograph them at least before you sold them?
I wasn't that big back then.
Well, we're about to wrap up. Where can they find you on social and website?
I would prefer everybody find me on YouTube first, or mostly, which is just at ArnieTex. We also have a website, ArnieTex.com. That's ARNIETEX.com. From there, you can go to our YouTube. You can go to our Pitmaster classes. You can go to any one of our social medias, and you can also buy our rubs. Our rubs are at pitmaster.us, and our classes are at pitmasterclasses.us. And that class, you know, we recorded it in 2017, 18, launched it in September of 19, and it continues to sell today. You know, especially our brisket class. You know, people still love to learn how to cook brisket.
It's timeless.
And, yeah, you know, and I like to say, you know, a lot of us have been doing it a long time. There's a lot of new people coming up that haven't done it, and they want to learn how. And you can find a lot of great YouTube videos on brisket that are free if you have the time. You know, and you'll eventually learn how to do it after about 40 or 50 brisket that you threw away. Or you can pay $49.95 and get it in my class and be cooking great brisket next week.
I love it.
That's kind of the way I look at it.
This has been truly an honor. I cannot believe I got an hour of your time. I know it's been busy.
Thank you. Thank you.
And if you ever need anything, ever back in DFW, let's do. I actually wish we had like 6 more hours because I have like 50 questions still in my head that I want to ask.
Maybe we need to come up here again.
Actually, you're going to
Or you need to come down.
Yeah. I'm going to have to for sure. But thank you so much.
We'll do a little flippity flip.
Let's do it. Whatever y'all want, I am game for it.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Joe, for having us. I really appreciate it, man. It's a huge honor to hang out here with you, too. I know you're a big name up here, and so we love having you, especially because you're one of our customers, and I want you to know that we really, really appreciate you. Guys, if you're in the DFW area, you can find our products at
BBQ Distro, inside Moss Coffee Co., or you go bbqdistro.com.
Right on. Boom.
Thank you so much.